85 and said this plant might produce 10,000 tomatoes. It ended up growing 40 feet tall, producing 15,000 tomatoes in its lifetime. One tomato plant. That's a tomato tree. Now this was a cherry tomato plant. You know, the little cherry tomatoes you put on your salad. But his tomatoes were coming off baseball size. Can you imagine if the whole world had hyperbaric conditions like that before the flood came? The plants would grow like crazy. You would need the dinosaurs just to mow the grass. There's a guy in Iowa got curious, you know, why do the birds start chirping an hour before sunrise? He found out the chirping of the birds is a frequency that helps open up the plant cell, stomata, on the bottom of the leaf, and it lets the plant start breathing in the morning. It helps, that's the alarm clock, it wakes the plant up. He found out that that frequency is found in music, classical music, quite a bit. So he started playing classical music to his cornfield. His neighbors thought, you know, un poquito loco a la cabeza, you know, he's a couple fries short of a Happy Meal, but until his corn grew 15 feet tall. And he said, what channel was that you're playing? When he played the music to his squash plants, they produced 5 squash per leaf instead of 1. He played it to his black walnut tree, and it grew twice as fast as normal. Called sonic bloom. It's a combination of vitamins for the plant and special frequencies to open up the stomata. I debated Jeannie Scott. She's the president of the National Center for Science Education. The National Center, big name. They got 4 or 5 people there, a little bitty storefront building, you know, but they're the National Center in Berkeley, California. She said in the debate, by the way, there's the National Center right there, little storefront building, that's it. Which is okay, but it gets kind of a much bigger title than I think they ought to have. Andrew Carnegie started this whole organization purposely to keep evolution in the schools and keep creation out. That's the purpose of the National Center. Well, I debated Jeannie Scott, and she said in the debate, she said, Dr. Hovind, there are 80 separate layers of coal in the Midwest. She's right. She said, if you look at the amount of coal in the world, the entire biomass, that means all the plants of the world today, could not possibly be converted to that much fossil fuel. She's right. In other words, there's so much coal in the ground, if you took every tree and bush and blade of grass on the surface of the earth, you couldn't squish it and make all that coal. I said, Jeannie, you were right. She said, don't you see, there had to have been an enormous amount of time involved in laying down the coal seams. Oh, now right there she's wrong. You see, she's looking at today's world, which is 70% underwater, and thinking that's how the coal got there. Well, if the pre-flood world was mostly land and loads of plants, the flood would form all that coal in 1 year. But she's guilty of looking at today's world and trying to interpret the past, just like 2 Peter warned us was going to happen. In Montana and Wyoming, there's a coal mine that is 10,000 square miles of coal up to 200 feet thick. That would take a lot of trees. And sometimes in coal, human artifacts are found. This bell was found inside a lump of coal. The sole of a shoe was found inside a piece of coal. The stitching was so clear you could see the twist in the threads. This iron pot was found inside a lump of coal. Your kids are going to be told coal formed millions of years ago. No, coal formed in the flood. The Bible says there were green herbs over all the earth. Genesis 1:29. I think there were plants from pole to pole. You know, when they went down to Antarctica, they discovered frozen leaves. There are no trees in Antarctica, and yet thousands of leaves are found deposited there, 250 miles from the South Pole. Today, the Earth is 70% underwater. Only 3% of planet Earth is habitable for mankind. The rest is underwater, deserts, ice caps, or just plain cold like it is up here in Wisconsin. 3% habitable for mankind. The Bible says God formed it to be inhabited. That's why He did it. I think the pre-flood world was loaded with trees from pole to pole. We cover lots more on that on video number 6. A layer of water above the atmosphere would block out the harmful rays of the sun. See, the sun puts off a lot of stuff besides light. It puts off gamma rays and X-rays and beta rays, and all them ray boys come down here, and they're kind of hard on your carcass. X-rays particularly are dangerous. How many have ever had an X-ray before? I broke 9 bones growing up. You go to the hospital, and they say, take off all your clothes and put this little gown on. They give you that little tiny gown that doesn't quite come together in the back, you know, it's kind of embarrassing. And they say, now walk down the hall about 12 miles. On the left, you'll see the X-ray room. Well, if you make it all that way, they'll say, oh, we're so glad you made it. Would you please lay on this table? And they just got the table out of the freezer a few minutes before you got there. How many been on that same table? You know which one I'm talking about. It's ice cold. And he puts this weird machine on top of you and says, okay, now take a deep breath. Hold it. And then he runs out in the hall. He says, hey, Doc, come here. Is this machine dangerous? He says, oh, no, it's harmless. He says, how does it work, Doc? He says, well, when I mash the button, X-ray bullets come out of that machine, and they're going to blow right through your carcass like a machine gun, and we're going to blow you full of holes. They're tiny, though. You won't feel a thing. Actually, they're going to make a shadow of what's inside your body, a reverse image, which explains why so many radiologists have a negative outlook on life. We're going to blow you full of holes. And you say, well, Doc, if this is so harmless, how come you run out in the hall? Well, he knows long-term exposure to X-rays is dangerous. Many folks don't realize, though, we're getting X-rayed by the sun right now. The sun's X-rays are coming right through that roof, right through your body, and blowing you full of holes inside the building. Except on cloudy days, because water stops X-rays. And concrete stops X-rays, but this roof does not stop X-rays. And your skin feels the full force of those X-rays. You're getting blasted with millions of holes all day long, every day of your life. Your body has to fix the damage. No big deal. You do it all the time. You don't even think about it. But after 50 or 60 or 70 years, everybody around you starts to notice you are losing the battle for damage control. Your skin begins to wrinkle up. You say, Brother Hovind, I don't want to get old and wrinkled up. Okay. If you don't want to get old and wrinkled, there are three things you can do about it. Number one, you can die early. Number two, you can carry a lead or a concrete umbrella over your head. Don't ever get exposed to the X-rays. Or number three, you can do what Elizabeth Taylor has done, the movie star. How many have heard of Elizabeth Taylor? I was at Walmart one day years ago, waiting in line, standing there trying to check out. And right beside me is this big old wall full of magazines. And one of them had Elizabeth Taylor's picture on there. She was getting married for the 40th time or something, And I thought, hey, I'm going to check this out. Somebody told me years ago that she's got a hole in her forehead. It's top secret. Nobody's supposed to know about it, but I just heard rumors, and I thought, I'm going to check it out. They say every morning she fills it in with caulk and covers it up with makeup, and nobody's supposed to know about it, but I'm a scientist. I like to learn things. So I got my Swiss Army knife out, which has a magnifying glass. By the way, this is why Switzerland has never been invaded. I picked up the magazine, and I began staring at her forehead. People are walking down the aisle looking at me. I said, hey, what's the matter with you? I'm just looking at a magazine, okay? I stared at her forehead for a while. I finally figured out what the hole was. That lady has had so many facelifts down through the years trying to get rid of the wrinkles. It's her belly button right there. You say, Brother Hovind, I don't want to get old and wrinkled. Well, I'm sorry. If you get old, you're going to get wrinkled, okay? But I don't think they did before the flood. Before the flood, the Bible says the people lived to be over 900 years old. Now, there's one guy that travels around the country. He claims he's a creationist. But he says, now, folks, they didn't really live to be 900. They counted every month as a year. That's an even bigger miracle. Enoch was 65 when he begat Methuselah. Two of these guys were 65. Let's see, if you divide that by 12, he's 5.5 when he became a daddy. I don't think so, no. They really were living to be 900, and they were getting bigger. Here's Me by Robert Wadlow, the tallest man in this century, 8'11½", had a size 37 shoe. Pretty good understanding. Goliath was 6 cubits and a span. It makes him just a little taller than Robert Wadlow. We would consider 9 feet tall gigantic. But I think before the flood, they might have got bigger than that. Here's a skeleton of a man found in a coal mine in Italy, 11 feet 6 inches tall. Well, long, not tall. He's laying down now. 11'6". How would you like to have that guy on your basketball team? Hey, throw the ball to Herman. Okay, Herman, drop it in right there. Okay, now come on back here and block off the whole court. Now, sometimes the women get upset with me, and they say, Mr. Hovind, you said that was a skeleton of a man. Maybe it was a woman. That's a fair question. But I taught biology and anatomy. I happen to know how to tell the difference between a male and female skeleton. It is not the number of ribs. Only Adam was missing a rib.